Early spring is a critical time for survival of the beehive. If they don't find food quick, as soon as spring arrives, they're doomed. And nectar and pollen are all a bee eats. They use tree sap to seal up the hive, but they can get that any time of year. And all Apis mellifera bees can make propolis from sap because they're a northern bee that's designed to survive in the wintertime in cold areas where there's no blooming things. So, you know, the African bee also propolizes, so it's really just Apis mellifera from Europe as well. It's a lie, but anyway, it's just our bee. But you see, this is a peach tree, and it's blooming full of bees. This is the flowering quince. And the flowering quince is also very important. As you can see, they're getting a large variety of nectar and pollen from all these various flowers. Although all the natural native trees and flowers are still asleep, most of the exotics we've got here are all taking care of the bees. So without these exotic plants, bees would have a hard time getting around and producing enough for the survival here, with people taking their honey and things. And see, this here, this is henbit in this field. Problem is, the bees will be on top of that, and the man who rents this field is going to come and spray it with herbicide right on top of the bees. And the bees will go back to the hive, and everybody will be very sick, and they'll eventually die off. Because when the bees work the flowers, the herbicide will adhere to them, and they'll fly back to the hive with it. And bees are very clean, so they'll lick each other when they arrive and clean themselves up, and it'll be ingested. But if they leave this field alone, the bees will do fine. They probably won't, though. Most people nowadays are using herbicides as directed by the USDA Monsanto. They're spraying it on all your pastures, they're GMOing the food so they can spray it on the food, and they're even spraying it on the hay fields. Everything's got it, and it's really ruining the earth because it's killing the phytoplankton in the sea, and it's killing the atmosphere because it stops rain, because Pseudomonas syringae is also a microbial plant that creates rain, and phytoplankton is the microbial plant that creates oxygen in the ocean. Anyhow, this is henbit out there, same thing as dead nettle, just a slightly different variation on the leaves, making them a different looking plant. Another very important thing to do is plant a lot of bulb plants. Bulb plants bloom while it's still freezing cold, and they produce a lot of pollen and nectar. See, these are daffodils, and the bees get inside of these, and they get a lot of pollen and a lot of nectar, and they're about the first thing to bloom. Witch hazel is one of the first, actually. If you really want to help bees out, don't buy fertilizers for your lawn that contain weed killers, because those same fertilizers will kill really beneficial plants like clover that grow in your lawn. They'll kill them, and you know, clover actually produces the nitrogen you need. And many plants like trout lily and toothwort are really good for bees because they come out so early, and these kinds of plants are not going to make it with herbicide around because they come back from a bulb, and if they get killed now, they're goners. Weeds like hyacinth and weeds like narcissus, all these, they come up way before the grass does. You see how it's just now starting to green up out here. Everything is still in the middle of winter, but spring is arriving. As you can see from these flowers, things are waking up. The robins are here, big sign of spring. A lot of robins, and the fruit trees are starting to bloom. And the problem is, people are spraying so many herbicides now. That's what's really killing the bees. The major reason is they don't have any food sources. Bobwhite quail used to come to the pastures to eat the leguminous seeds and stuff, but now those are all gone. Everyone wants to kill the broadleaves, and they think that animals can live on nothing but grass in the pasture. Clover is far more nutritious than grass. But they don't understand that a lot of the broadleaf weeds are highly delicious to animals. Things like alfalfa and clover and vetch and plantain and things, they love to eat that. Anyway, the honeybees really appreciate it if you'd stop using so many herbicides. Sure would be a benefit. And as you can see, I'm not using them, and I'm still going to have the most lush pasture you ever seen, because when you mow it, it's chop and drop. All the weeds, they can't tolerate being mowed low, and they go back to sleep, so that early in the spring they can wake up like this. I have all these wild onions and stuff. All these things are going to bloom, and they're going to make food for lots of animals. So you got to think about somebody beside yourself when you're farming. You think about other things. What am I doing to the environment? Can I live in harmony with nature? Can I still have animals on my farm? Can I share? See, I got a garden way out here. And in my garden, I've got animals around, and yeah, I get a problem or two from little vegetarian rats called voles. They come in and they eat a few things, but I keep owls around and I keep hawks around, and I got dogs, and the dogs are why I don't lose my chickens to all these things. And I love the coyotes and the foxes because they eat the mice and the voles. And everything's got a balance. It's all there. We've always been in balance with nature for hundreds of thousands of years because we've had dogs to protect our stock and our gardens and things. And got a little fence in here, and that's to keep my goats from getting in. But deer jump right over. And when I'm planting something that I don't want them eating, I just hang the pie tins up from a bamboo pole. Keeps them out. And that's how that works. This is my pond, one of my ponds. See all the birds leaving? Well, you might not be able to see all the birds, but my pond, I've got salamanders laying eggs. Salamander eggs. Can you see the salamander eggs? The salamander's in there. And it's not about fish. It's about and production. Like everyone gets greedy and, oh, you gotta make production. Well, mine is producing things that are rare, like salamanders and rare fishes. Not just sport fish, so I can enjoy killing a bass or a brim or a catfish. Anyway, this is filled with water plants, and this is winter, so it's asleep. So anyway, this is a strawberry bed. And what I've done is I've put regular old horse manure right off the pasture, right on top of it in the middle of winter, so that I could get it mulched so it could take the really cold temperatures. And now it's all waking up. I'm getting brand new leaves on it, and it's coming through the manure. And the Greek oregano isn't very winter hardy, but as you see, it's coming through the manure just fine, and it's going to be fine and dandy. A lot of the oregano you buy is really sweet marjoram. Those are tea bags. Throw them on there too. But you can tell because oregano will have a very strong smell when you rub the leaves. Sweet marjoram won't. One good thing to plant in the winter is shallots. See that row of shallots there? Those things really take the cold. I really like shallots. Onions are a little harder for me to grow. You got to start them with seeds and stuff. And this is horseradish, and it's just now waking up. It's March, the middle of March. And as you see, my muscadine vineyard is asleep. My pecans are asleep. The forest is asleep. And these little dangly things here keep the animals from eating all my food. And I'm just now getting little baby collard greens to wake up. Little collards. I planted them about a week and a half ago. And cilantro is really winter hardy. I planted this from a transplant 2 weeks ago. Actually, no, I planted this 4 weeks ago. And it's taken some really cold temperatures, and then like 26 degrees and stuff. And tell you what, that's Fahrenheit, of course. That is way below 0 Celsius. Anyway, this also pretty winter hardy. These are just waking up. These are Egyptian walking onions, also known as top setting onions. You know, probably know that. They're only good for the chives though. The chives are absolutely delicious, better than any other chive I know of. Fabas aren't so winter hardy. They all died out. Had to replant them. Now leeks, they're very winter hardy. These little things here, I replanted them because the drought had killed them off and only had a few left. They are so winter hardy. Here's something I really like. They're called Chinese leeks, also known as garlic chives. These little things are delicious. I just take scissors and cut them right off. Oh man, they're good. You should get these. Anyway, thank you very much. And also, this is the rocambole garlic. It's smaller and it is not as vigorous as the elephant garlic, which is much more vigorous, much more winter hardy, and really thick. But I want to say again, don't be fooled into thinking these are as good as a leek. They claim, oh, they're more in the leek family, but don't forget, they don't taste good like leeks. I tell you right now, they don't. That's why you don't see elephant garlic in the grocery stores being sold for leeks. But they sure are great. They come back every year if you simply leave a few, and then when they start dividing in the wintertime, break them apart and replant them. They're so winter hardy, I grow them in the middle of my pastures. And here's my tomato machine. And what it is nothing more than a tomato cage made out of concrete reinforcement wire. And then I put the bamboo poles, just slid them right in. And then up on top of that, you can literally tie all your vines up there and then they'll just dangle on down. Anyway, we're having a pretty bad day out here. The air is extremely polluted. It was beautiful yesterday, but the airplanes are putting out trash and it's just horrible. It's getting smoky looking and everything. It's just terrible. Anyway, bye-bye.